Hi, welcome to another episode of the Mike Paige Doodle Club. I'm Mike Paige, and today we are going to be drawing Frankenstein's monster. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. I did, in this episode, make a super obvious mistake, and right when I made the mistake, I caught myself, so I'm going to show you right now so that if you're following along step by step, you don't do what I did. I made his jacket open, but then when I made the buttons, I drew the buttons as though they were buttoned, which I demonstrate over here. So if you're following along step by step, don't make the lines through the circles when I do. I messed up. But don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's the fun of doodling. Let's get right into Frankenstein's monster. All right, we're going to do a basic Frankenstein's monster. To do this, we're going to start with a couple quick oval eyes. And I filled them in. I left a small circle or oval near the top that I left white as a reflection in the eye. Next, I'm going to do a letter C that face planted on itself for a nose. I like to look for really basic shapes as I'm drawing because I find that it makes it a lot easier for people to follow along. Especially I work with young kids, and for a 5 or 6 year old, if you show them a drawing and they want to copy it, it's very hard. If you tell them that it's a letter C, everybody can do that. So no matter what you're drawing, just look for a really basic shape hidden in there. Everything is made of basic shapes. So I'm going to give him a very flat mouth, slightly downturned at the sides. And we'll give him 2 quick ears. So a letter C and a backwards letter C. So far I've made 6 things on here, and 3 of them were letter C's. So that's easy enough for anybody to do it. Now I'm going to make a letter U that's kind of squared off. So we're going to give him a really square jaw here, but it's a letter U. Then we're going to do a very squared off U on top of his head that's upside down. Almost like you're drawing a table across his head. Inside of that, I'm going to make some hair. So I'm going to come up and in like that. And you can decide if you want to go straight across or if you want to have a slightly scalloped hairline like that. I think I would normally do it more straight across, but this time I'm doing it kind of the scalloped look. And then his hair can get filled in like that. If you're a little behind, you don't have to do that part right away. You can add that later. Frankenstein's monster usually has a scar somewhere on his forehead, so for that we'll just make a slightly curved line and then a couple very small lines or even dots on either side of that line. And much like a vampire, you rarely hear of Frankenstein not wearing a suit, so he might be reanimated, but he's still a sharp dresser. So we'll be putting him in a suit, but first we're going to make 2 quick lines down and then sort of a squared off backward C on this side and a forward C on that side. These will be the bolts in his neck. And then these are kind of vertical rectangles on the ends there. And we'll give him a smushed letter U, or kind of a bowl shape for his collar. And then I'm going to make the start of a letter A, so kind of an upwards arrow here. That will make the collar of his shirt. And then we're going to turn this into a W that meets up On mine, it's going to meet up right where the bolts are, but it's going to meet wherever your neck and your letter U shape meet. That's where we're going to connect to. So we're just going to make, now you can kind of see a letter W there. After that, I'm going to give him his shoulders. And you can decide, Frankenstein sometimes has super squared shoulders. I'm going to make mine a little, I don't have the best posture in the world. I'll be the first to admit it. So my Frankenstein is going to be a little slouchier, but he sure is comfortable. After that, we're going to make his lapels on his jacket. So I'm coming down into almost a point here. And then I'm going to come back up on either side, coming out a little bit as I go. And then I'm going to cut in like that. And then come back out and up. So there's a little notch in either side there. And then we'll make the jacket. I'm not going to have his buttoned, but you are more than welcome to bring it all the way together if you want it to be buttoned. I'm going to give him a tie too. I forget if Frankenstein's monster typically wears one, but my Frankenstein's monster is ready for his marriage. Or at least a class picture or something. Then I'm going to make the lines across. I don't want to come out too far because his arms will be hanging here. So be careful not to go way over here or anything. So next I'm going to come down like this and back up, and I'll do that on both sides. We'll have his arms kind of comfortably at his side. And men's buttons are on their right side of their suit jackets. So on Frankenstein's monster here, it will be our left. And you can decide if it's a 2-button or a 3-button. I'm going to give him 3 buttons. Oh, I just messed up here. I drew it as though I had closed his suit because that's what I'm used to doing. Don't make these little lines if you didn't already do it. So you only want the button on this side, and on this side we'll make the lines. If you drew his suit closed, then his buttons will look like this with the circle and a line going through it. And that's what I'm used to doing when I do something like this with buttons. And I forgot that I made it open. But again, you can't be afraid to make mistakes when you're doodling. You just go with it. And then if you're spending more time at another time making a similar drawing, you're ready for it then. I'm going to give him his dress shirt cuffs poking out here. And for his hands, I'm just going to do, this is almost like a letter J. And I'm going to do the same thing over here, just backwards. Those will be his thumbs. And then coming down, this one's going to be kind of a U. These are all just sort of hot dogs. I'm giving them hot dog fingers here. So there's the first finger. And then the next one, you don't have to make the whole thing, only half of it. And the next one, same thing, like that. Like that. And then I'm going to give him some pant legs. Again, if you watched the vampire video, I showed 2 different ways of doing legs. One way is to just kind of do this and connect the legs with a rainbow shape. That's a very simple way. It kind of gives a lot of personality because it's like, why is all this detailed? And then you just did next to nothing for the bottom. You can decide if you want to do that. If you look at that and you say, Mike, I really don't care for that, that's fine. If you want to make regular pant legs, you can come up like this. I won't be offended either way. You might have been following along at home and you might have changed something 5 minutes ago on this and said, no, I want to do it a little bit differently. I highly encourage that. I think if you see a different way of doing it and you want to head a different direction with it, absolutely do it. That's the whole fun of drawing. And what I really like about teaching how to draw simple things like this is when I do this at my after-school program, I love seeing that every single kid got the exact same directions on how to do it. But when I walk around and I look at theirs, they all come out very differently, and almost always you can see the kids' personalities within their drawings, which I think is really cool. But it's kind of fascinating that everybody gets the same directions, but you interpret it a little differently, or you might stray from the directions a little bit on one step because you feel like it, or because you weren't listening. That's always also an option. And I'm going to give them some quick little oval shoes, and then a really quick little scribble shadow, and then we'll make him standing somewhere. If you wanted to, I didn't really leave space to do this, but if you wanted to, I had mentioned that he's ready for his wedding. You could even have him holding a bouquet of flowers or something. Maybe I'll put a little boutonniere on him. So I'll give him a little flower here. I'm trying to remember, I think I'm drawing this on the wrong side. I'm pretty sure you're supposed to wear your boutonniere on the left side, which would be over here on him. But I don't remember. It's not very often that I have had to wear a boutonniere in my life. Haven't been involved in a wedding in quite some time. So we'll give him his little boutonniere. Maybe put a pocket on this side. If you wanted to have a bat flying behind him, we can make a quick letter V shape with another curved V in between for the ears. And then I'm going to hook those wings out like that. And then we'll make that classic shape of when you're drawing a seagull flying, sort of that smushed, rounded letter M shape. And color it in, you've got a bat. Nice and simple. All right, so here's our finished Frankenstein's monster. We added a boutonniere, so he's dressed up, ready for whatever's going on. Over here, I showed how to make the buttons if you did draw the jacket closed. Whoopsie, I kind of messed up. But that's the fun of drawing. You can't be afraid to make those mistakes and just keep going with it. I hope you had fun following along, and I hope you have a great Halloween. Thanks for watching. Tune in again next time for the Mike Paige Doodle Club.
All right, kids, now that you've finished your doodles, color them in and then share them with both Mike Paige and Medfield TV. We're going to take those images and we're going to put them all over our station. Can't wait to see what you guys make.